welcome Maria Kudasova. Thank you.
So perhaps many of us in this room have questioned, what is wrong with our world? Why is there so much violence, wars, conflicts, frustration and fear? And perhaps you heard someone say, it is a human nature. It is a human nature to dominate, to oppress others, and it is a human nature to exercise its power. As a matter of fact, the question and essence of human nature is as old as the history of humankind. Many philosophers for centuries debated whether or not human nature is inherently evil or inherently good. When it comes to my humble opinion, I believe that both sides of the debate are true to some extent. I believe that every human being, including in this room and in the world, come to this earth with a big human package that includes the whole range of possible experiences, behaviors, feelings that we can potentially experience, embrace, or suppress throughout our lives. This means that each of us has a potential to kill, each of us has a potential to steal, and each of us has a potential to love and care for the other. And while we have very similar human package, what makes us all different and unique is our individual choices and life experiences that makes us pull only certain human qualities from that package and leave the other. We can at some times pull out compassion, at some times we can pull out greediness. And I believe that this process of pulling back and forth from our human package is not spontaneous. It's largely determined and influenced by the context and environment and the situations that we are living in. Social psychologists have already proven the importance of social context on our human behavior and thinking. What is interesting is that they know that when we're trying to explain our personal behavior, we are doing so through the lens of the situation. However, when we look at other people, we are explaining his or her behavior through ascribing to them their character traits. Let me just give you a very simple example. Let's imagine I was coming today to Lehigh Speaks, and on the middle of the way, I got stuck in traffic, and I came late for the event. So my colleague would ask me, why were you late? I would say I stuck in traffic. I would explain my behavior through the lens of the situation. However, the organizer of the Lehigh Speaks, Gerardo, would say, maybe assumes that I came late because I'm not punctual or I'm not responsible. So he will explain my behavior by ascribing to me my character traits. And this phenomenon, the disconnect between the ways that we see and explain our personal behavior and the behavior of other people, social psychologists named as a fundamental attribution error. And I think it shifts our perspective a little bit. Let me give you a little serious example. Let's take and consider a group of people that we label criminals. For a long time, I have been thinking that criminals are just inherently bad people. It never occurred to me until I take an internship where I volunteered and worked with children with drug addiction, and I had no idea, and I had many stereotypes about them, but when I came to this rehabilitation center, I've seen very nice, smiling children who had their talents. Many of them could sing and dance and write poems. They were very friendly, very helpful. I was shocked to know that most of them have committed crimes, large and small. Then I realized that there's something wrong. And when I started talking to them, I came to the conclusion that they committed crimes because they didn't have anything to eat, they didn't have anything to wear, or simply because they were using drugs. Their mind was not clear, and they were very regretting about what they've done later on. Then you may ask, why did they start using drugs? They start using drugs because they were living in the families and neighborhoods where they experienced violence and abuse. And in their circumstances, they didn't see any other way out rather than starting using drugs. So I'm not trying to justify their behavior, but I want to focus your attention on the power of the context and environment that shapes us as human beings, that requires us to pull certain qualities from this our human package. But let's come to our fundamental attribution error. I believe we are often making the same fundamental attribution error when we're trying to explain what is wrong with our world. Problems are not in human nature. Problems are not in human inherent character traits. But I believe that the problems are in the context, situations, and the environment that chooses us and forces us to embrace criminal qualities and qualities that damage the world. Let's look around at our context that we are living in. I believe that every institution, every system embraces certain view on humankind. It embraces certain human qualities. So if we look at the world that we live in today, I believe there are three qualities that are carefully crafted, embraced, and nurtured in us as human beings. These qualities are first competition, second consumerism, and third self-interest. In my view, it is a very limited view on a human nature because we have such a big, rich bag of human qualities. But we can see that in our schools, in our mass media, our society carefully embraces three human qualities: competition, consumerism, and self-interest. Let's think for a moment whether or not this environment will potentially lead us to a better world that we all aspire to live in. Will this context lead us to the situation where we'll have no violence, wars, and conflicts? Let's think for a while about competition. Albert Einstein, who is the greatest mind of our kind, the greatest physicist, he stated that what he hated the most in school was competition. Because of it, he was feeling worse than anything. And his teachers even suggested him to quit the school because of that. There is another his famous quote that states that everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish will live all its life thinking it is stupid. In other words, competition oftentimes makes us human beings feel worse than anything. It creates a feeling of frustration, feeling of superiority and inferiority. Competition disconnects us. It separates us because we see each other not as friends, but as competitors. If we look at competition on the global scale, we also see that it is becoming normal that one country's population is starving to death. It is fine, because within the framework of competitive mind, someone has to fail. And if we look at two other ideas of consumerism and self-interest, we would see that on individual level, we are carefully embrace this idea that we should desire goods more and more. New phone, new computer, new home, new car. While social psychologists have already proven that material things rarely makes us happy, the context that we are living in on daily basis promotes this idea that we should prioritize goods over human relationships. So what it does, it again damages our human relationships because we see goods as more valuable than the human being. On a global scale, consumerism makes it okay to go to another country and destroy the forest to produce goods. It is becoming okay to go to the local community and destroy it to extract oil. Consumerism damages our environment. The idea of self-interest is self-evident, I believe, because with these ideas, it is becoming absolutely normal to pass by the homeless person, to pass by the person who is suffering, because from an early age, we are taught to care about ourselves. We are asked to learn new language, to get new skills, to become more competitive, to get good enough to be given a job. In sum, these three qualities, competition, consumerism, and self-interest, pull out another human quality from our human bag, which is called ignorance. Albert Einstein said, "We live in a dangerous world not because the people possess evil character traits, but because of the people that don't do anything. In other words, because of the people who possess ignorance." So if I ask the question again, what is wrong with our world, and attempt to answer it, I think first we should acknowledge that we cannot justify the problems in our world by saying that it is a human nature. I think we should acknowledge that our human nature contains the qualities that can save the world and qualities that can damage the world. And I think we should give importance to our context, to our institutions and systems that would start to embrace different types of qualities in us human beings. And I believe these qualities should be love, care, and understanding. Thank you.